I know you guys want to hear like some of the more glorious shit, but the glory stories are very few and far between. These are reality stories of shit that's going to happen to you when you're in, you know, a jungle environment or a desert environment for long periods of time. You can't really take a shower, and you just got to do what you got to do to drive on. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode live from the Lair. Alright, I'm going to finish up the other half of this video in regards to you know, the medical shit and stuff that you see you know, in the military, especially in the Army, probably the Marines, pretty close to it. I mean, they do a lot of the same shit we do, especially the 0311s, but you know, what are you gonna do? All right, top of the list. All right, you will go to the field, or you will be away from a shower facility and living in an austere environment for a considerable amount of time, depending upon a different mission. And you are going to catch diseases. I mean, that's just the way it is. All right. Number one on the list that I found particularly unappetizing, scabies. Now, there's some like little, they're kind of like chiggers, but they're worse. And, you know, where you get a chigger, which those are like in the south, you know, down south and some other areas of the world, you can't really see them, a chigger. But a chigger will usually get you around your wrists and ankles and stuff, and they basically cause these fucking red sores, fucking itch like fuck. They drive you crazy. And the only way to really stop them, and it's going to sound stupid, but it works, is you got to cover them with clear nail polish. You know, clear coat. And you put it on there, and by the next day, the chigger that was in your skin is dead, and it fucking, you know, it'll heal up. Now, scabies are very similar, except instead of having one little bump, they'll cover areas of your skin, and you'll get in your scalp and other parts of your body. And, you know, I mean, if it's on your like regular skin, I mean, it's fairly easily to treat. But if it's in your hair, you know, your hair's gonna fall out. It's gonna itch like fuck. And it's going to take a long time to go away, because that shit gets down in your fucking, I guess your hair follicles are bigger or deeper than the ones in your arms. But at least this is the way it was explained to me by the medic who treated me for some of this shit. I was fortunate I didn't have it in my hair. I just had it on my forearm and on my calf and a little bit behind my knee. And that was fucking not good at all. And I mean, they give you like this rinse you put on there like once or twice a day for like a week and a half, and it pretty much killed it. But it took my body a good 40 days for all the skin to quit flaking off of, you know, where it was infected, because I guess that's just a natural response that your body does to some shit like that. It just creates all kinds of skin cells and tries to, you know, outgrow it and push whatever the infection is off of it. But, you know, you got to get the special sauce, if you know what I mean. Now, another one that you're going to get is ringworm. Now, they call it ringworm, but it's not really a worm. It's a fungus, and it causes little rings, you know, usually on your ankles, your feet. If you are submerged in water or you're wet all the time, anywhere that your skin rubs on the wet clothing is going to be infected. And that itches like shit. And to be honest with you, when I had it, I tried everything. You try the athlete foot powder, the Tinactin, some of the other fucking shit that nothing really worked. The only thing that really worked, and this is going to sound weird, gentlemen, is Lysol. It burns like a motherfucker, but it works like a charm. And not only does it kill ringworm, but it kills athlete's foot, and it'll take care of crotch rot, which is usually a fungal thing as well. And in fact, I remember we were down in the America, which is south of this America, doing some shit down there. And one of the guys on my team, he just kept rubbing his fucking balls. He was holding up our progress, you know. And finally, I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, all right, what the fuck is going on? So he's like, hey, Sergeant Popp, oh man, I got fucking crotch rot. It's driving me fucking crazy. And I'm like, all right, do you have any like powder? He goes, fucking, I put half a thing of powder on it. It's not even touching it. And I'm like, well, we can take care of this, but it's gonna hurt like fuck. All right, and you got to be prepared. He says, yeah, what do you got? And I had one of those little travel cans of original Lysol, and I gave it to him. I said, spray this on your balls. Yeah. He did, and promptly fell on the ground and rolled around in agony for a good 5 minutes. I think he laid there airing his balls out for like 20 minutes till they dried off. And we Charlie Miked with the mission, and we didn't have any more problems out of him. Yep, and in fact, I think he retreated himself like once a day for another 5 days after that, and it totally cleared it up. So yeah, I mean, I know you guys want to hear like some of the more glorious shit, but the glory stories are very few and far between. These are reality stories of shit that's going to happen to you when you're in, a jungle environment or a desert environment for long periods of time. You can't really take a shower, and you just got to do what you got to do to drive on. And it is what it is. Now here's another one. Now this happened several times while I was in the military, like 3 or 4 times in 9th ID, and 2 or 3 times when I was at the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And that is lice. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, there's 2 types of lice. There's body lice, and then there's head lice. Now head lice, usually you get it, when you're just a dirty mother fornicator and you don't do proper hygiene. Though it does happen if you're in the field sometimes, and they give you the special soap, and you gotta fucking do all that shit. Then you get the other kind, the scotchy chingos, which are the body lice, or the lice that like to live on your balls. Yeah, and you get those from close personal contact, if you know what I mean. With questionable trim or some dirty choach, and we'll give you the crabs. You can catch it in a porta shitter. I'm sure it happens, but most of the time the guys that caught the fucking scotchy chingos in my barracks just were some dirty motherfuckers. And whenever they said, "Oh, I caught it on a porta shitter," I'm like, yeah, right, yeah. You just rolled off of, Mary Jane Rottencrotch and infected the whole goddamn barracks. You filthy, hog-slaying piece of garbage. Of course, we use a lot, choicer names for that kind of thing, but it's either here nor there. And, it was especially entertaining once the medic found out about it, because he literally, and I remember it happened on a Saturday. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and the doc walks onto the floor. It's like, all right, everybody, take all your uniforms and everything off your bed, and we're going to take it to the laundry room and wash it, because Riggs has got scotchy chingos, and we have to make sure nobody else has it. I'm like, fuck, because that's your whole Saturday, okay? You have only so many washing machines you can use. Plus, you have to use special soap to kill all that shit. And then you got to dry it all. And even though it's 11 in the morning, by the time everyone on the floor gets done doing their stuff, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So your whole day is shot fucking taking care of that stuff. That dirty syphilis fucking plague-bringing rigs. God damn that guy. Oh my God. All right. Ringworm, tapeworm, scabies, lice, dick lice. All right, here's another one that's fairly common. Amoebic dysentery. Some people will call it Montezuma's revenge. I will call it miserable, because once you get that, you will have a case of swamp ass that'll probably last you anywhere from 5 to 8 days. You can get it treated with antibiotics, but most of the time you just stay hydrated and your body will flush it out, and then you're good to go. And that usually happens when you leave the United States and you go to another country like Mexico or some other countries that happen to be south of Mexico, because they all pretty much have that going on. And it's really weird because the people that live there, it doesn't bother them at all, but us, we go down there, you lick a fucking stamp and your ass turns into a water cannon. Guaranteed. Every time. All right, that's amoebic dysentery. Okay, and then I talked about in the first half of this about the food poisoning. Now, to date, I've had salmonella 5 times. The first 2 times was really, really bad. The 3rd and 4th time was only moderately bad, and the 5th time, and I'm pretty sure any time after that, it'll probably be just the bionic winds and maybe a couple days of liquid shit, and then I should be fine. But you get that from eating iguana. Some of the jungle crabs have that. It's all over them. And other stuff, if you don't cook it, you're gonna get fucked with that kind of shit. Okay, now we're gonna talk about some injuries. All right, now, for those of you out there who are airborne qualified, if you don't know this by now, I'm going to tell it to you straight. Every time you rig up your body with a parachute, with or without equipment, it's more dangerous when it's full combat equipment, but every time you step out of that bird, you take a gamble on wrecking your body. All right. Now, I have seen many, many jumps, and I have seen many, many injuries. All right. I can remember one where the guy landed wrong. His feet and knees were together, but apparently there was a rock or something. He didn't see it. And he had a compound fracture of both bones in the lower right leg. And I landed maybe 35 meters from where he was at, and I heard his bones snap from where I was at, and he made this little whimper, and then he passed out. And I remember I had to release both of my canopy releases on my parachute because he passed out and he was getting dragged by the wind. I ran over to him and undid his canopy releases. He was a rag doll, and put a tourniquet on his leg and called the medic, and the medic came over and did his fucking deal with their magic bag, and he wound up getting a splint, and he got medevaced out of there to the rear, and I believe that guy healed up just fine. I think he was 20 when it happened, and didn't have to get medically discharged or removed from the Ranger Battalion. We had another guy, same, was a broken arm, but it wasn't a compound fracture. And he came down, and for whatever reason, instead of keeping his arms like this, he reached out for some reason, and it came down, and a branch of a tree, because he landed right next to it, just karate chopped his arm and just broke it. And he wound up getting plates and screws, and I don't know what happened to him after that. Shit happens. Yeah, I've seen countless twisted ankles happen on road marches, mountain climbing, and walking through forest and jungles. Countless countless ankle sprains. In fact, when I got wounded in Panama, I had a dislocated hip, had torn tendons in my right knee, and a third-degree sprained right ankle. And that sucked. And even to this day, that ankle will roll for no reason, and I don't even fight it. If the ankle rolls, I just go with it and fall. I'll look like an idiot, but I won't fucking rip anything up in my fucking ankle, and I'll be fine. But you want to save face, and and keep your pride and not look like an idiot. Just remember, classic mistakes men make. Number one, set your own death trap, and usually that is baited with your own pride. So don't be prideful. Shit's gonna happen. Go with it. Okay, so we talked about sucking chest wounds. Yes. Well, not gonna lie to you, gentlemen. If you want to get into the profession of a gunfighter, there's gonna be some gunfighting. All right, and whenever there's gunfighting, people will usually get shot. And if they don't die immediately, and they're hit anywhere in the upper torso, since the lungs are so big, the chances of having a sucking chest wound are very great. And I saw a couple of those, and like the guy who was hit didn't even really know that he knew he was shot, but he didn't think it was that bad, because he's like, oh yeah, I'm fine, it just stings, I think I'm gonna be okay. And then over like a 3 or 4 minute, you could hear him like laboring, like having, like the volume of his lungs was shrinking or something, which they were, because that's why they call it a sucking chest wound. And for what, if anyone out there doesn't know what that is, it's basically when air gets into the lung cavity where the lung is supposed to be, and it fucks it up. And you gotta pretty much plug it and do what you gotta do. There's a valve you put on there. And yeah, that was ugly. I personally didn't treat that one. We did have a cattle car in basic training go around a bend and roll, and went down a ravine. And I was in the cattle car, and I was fine. Most of us were fine, but one of the guys in my basic training class had the end of his M16 punctured into his lungs. Okay, and it didn't break a rib, but the end of the barrel basically wedged itself between two ribs and dislocated one at the sternum and one at the spine, so the barrel could get in there. And yeah, that was pretty ugly. They had a hard time getting him in the ambulance while they're trying to, hold the, manage this M16 sticking out of this one troop's chest as they're gonna take him off to the fucking the hospital. And he made it back. We saw him like 3 days later. He was fine. And, he was a little sore. It's on profile for a while, but he got over it. He was, you're 18, you're indestructible. Okay. All right. Here's another bad one here. Now this one, I saw it as they brought the soldier in to the CP. And apparently it was a night jump, and we were jumping about 800 feet, which is not too terribly high, but not too terribly low. It's not like 500-foot combat drop. It's more like a simulated combat drop. And they like to do that a lot in the Ranger Battalion, 800 feet. Now, my drop on that particular one was fine. I landed on a soft area. It wasn't near the trees. Nobody was stealing my air, and everything was fine. I get to the shoot shakeout position. I drop off my parachute and my reserve, and I don't remember this particular ranger's name, but he came down right in the trees, and he had a stick. And it wasn't really a stick. It was a piece of a broken branch, and it had perforated his colon. Basically, it went I wouldn't say it went up his ass, but it made its own hole like an inch over from his ass. And he had to go right to the big house and get immediate surgery. and he was returned to full duty. Had to sit on a donut for a while, and we fucked with him mercilessly. But that's the way it is. I mean, people get hurt. Fuck it. They fucked with me when I got hurt and I was limping around the barracks. So fuck it. Here's another bad one, and this one is why I don't condone motorcycles. Okay. Like I said in a couple of videos back there, I've buried pretty much one soldier a year for the past 6 or 8 years. All of them were killed on motorcycles, just doing stupid shit. Well, this was in the 9th ID, and this particular guy, had a motorcycle. I was going to buy a motorcycle. I was saving up to buy a Hurricane 1000 CBR, and about 2 weeks before I had enough money for the down payment on the motorcycle, he was coming out of the rear gate of Fort Lewis, trying to get onto the freeway, hit some sand, went right into a backyard that was on post housing at the time. And they used to have these little things that had the spider webs on them. He used to hang laundry and stuff. Well, he landed right in there. So I went to go see him in the hospital the next day, and he's laying on his back, and he's got this cage over his hips. And there's a blanket over him, and his lips are blue. He's all fucked up. And I remember I walk up, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, hey, Pop, can you do me a favor? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, hey, can you look under the blanket? Let me know my dick is still there, because they won't tell me. I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting this. So I look under the blanket. I'm like, okay, well, I got some good news and bad news. Good news is, looks like it's all there. Bad news is, it's going to itch for a long fucking time. Because he had a laceration from the tip of his ankle bone on the inside all the way up his leg, all the way up to the end of his fucking penis. And they had a fucking metal fucking tube run down there, and it was all sewed up on the side, and it just looked all kinds of fucked up. And on top of that, he had a burst kidney. Okay. And that's actually what the doctor said. For motorcycle injuries, it's actually fairly common. Because your kidneys are full of blood and urine, which is water, which doesn't compress, and will give it enough force, they will split open or burst. And this one had split open, and they had actually sewed, it wasn't that bad. They sutured it and sewed it back up and put it back into his meat sack, and told him he just, had to, take it easy for a while. And he never fully recovered because of the kidney thing, and he basically ETS'd out of the service and went on to do other things with his life. But yeah, I mean, that motorcycle thing is no joke. You are just a bag of water with like $7 worth of minerals, and when you have an argument with physics, shit will not go fucking well for you. All right, last but not least, dislocations. All right, I've seen probably half a dozen shoulder dislocations, 3 or 4 arm dislocations at the elbow. I've seen countless finger dislocations, which are almost nothing at all. I saw a knee dislocation, and did I say hip dislocation? Because that was me. And I saw it on another guy who had one that was really fucking bad. And back in the day, the medics would just put that shit back in the socket right where you fucking were, especially if it was a shoulder. And I hear these guys scream in agony and like, shut up. You hear it as it goes back in, and about half the time they pass out from the pain. It hurts like fuck. I was fortunate with my hip that it was knocked out of socket, but actually worked its way back into socket, as I was running around. And I was in shock and I didn't feel it the whole night. But these are like some of the things that you're going to look forward to if you serve as a grunt, or as a Cav Scout, or in the armor, because you're going to be around shit that's going to fuck you up. And these are all fairly common injuries that happen all the time. And, you know, it's a 60-40 if you get one of these that it might end your career. But, you know, if you're young enough, you might be able to, shake it off or walk it off and drink water and take Motrin. All right, gentlemen, that's pretty much it for that. So I hope you guys like this. I know they're not glorious, stories, but this is the real deal. I'll talk to you guys later.